Welcome to Rome. We are live once again from just above the Vatican. You can see that great dome behind me of St. Peter's Basilica, of course. If you were with us a couple of hours ago, you'll know that we've had that second puff of black smoke coming out of the chimney over the Sistine Chapel, which revealed, of course, that as of yet there is still not a new pope. We're expecting 2 more votes this afternoon and then possibly black smoke at the end of that, unless, of course, we get white smoke before it. That means that a new pope has been elected. That could come at any point, really. Well, with me now is Seema Gupta, our correspondent here in Rome. Seema, I know you've been down in the square talking to some of the people down there as well. Last night there were 45,000 people in the square, weren't there? And another 15 we've been hearing for this second round of back smoke, if you like, that came out.
Exactly. I mean, the mood last night, I was there in the evening and I was there again this afternoon, this morning, and really one of great expectation, one of excitement as well. I think you have the faithful gathered, but you even have just tourists to Rome. I met a couple that are actually here for the tennis tournament that's happening in Rome at the same time. And they said coming here was just like another spectacle as well, as all eyes are tuned in on that chimney. People have got their phones set up. They just want to have that look. For the faithful, of course, they're saying the sign of the smoke will be a sign that they'll get the pontiff. They're hoping it'll happen sooner rather than later because of all this excitement. So really, I think the mood is quite exciting and different, especially when you have those figures, as you mentioned, Stuart, thousands of people all there for this one event, because there's no other way of communicating or understanding what's going on. All our eyes have to be on that chimney.
At the moment, we assume anyway, they're having their lunch or just about finishing, perhaps having their lunch, the Cardinal. So there's a little bit of a pause. But of course, those lunches are vital, aren't they? Because the meetings that they've had before they went into Conclave and those discussions during lunch as well can be really important.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, from what we know is that those general congregations, the discussions, 12 of them or so, that they had before the Conclave began, was a chance for many of the cardinals to express their visions, express their views, express their concerns. So people who, especially the newly appointed cardinals who may not have an idea of exactly who's involved, get a chance to hear that. But once the voting actually begins, they're voting inside the Sistine Chapel. And so it's these breaks, the lunch, the breakfasts, those meals that they have all together, it's a chance for them to sort of speak to each other and also to perhaps push forward the cases. Each time there's a vote, they look to see who is getting more of the votes. Is there a grouping forming behind a particular candidate, if you like? And so it is interesting what happens during these times. But of course, we know nothing about what's going on in there, and they have no contact either with the rest of us because, of course, they don't have their cell phones, they have no access to newspapers, TV channels, or radios or the internet.
So what do we know? I mean, we know a little bit about the protocol, don't we, and what happens and how it should all happen, this vote.
Yes, I mean, in the case of Pope Francis, his election came on the 5th vote, and that would be the equivalent of the last vote on the 2nd day.
So this evening.
This evening, exactly. And in Benedict's case, it was the 4th vote, which means, again, on the 2nd day. So everyone's really looking at this afternoon and how it's going to play out. But what happens is we have a representative from the church who will come out on that balcony once it's announced. Once we see the white smoke, we'll know it's a white smoke because the bells of St. Peter's will also ring. So then we know we have a pope. There is a lot of excitement in the square, but what's happening behind the scenes is that the Pope has already, whoever's been selected, says that he accepts this role. He then will be... the other cardinals will sort of pay their respects to him, and then he has to choose, because there are actually 3 vestments of 3 different sizes, depending on what size this man is, and he will wear those robes, and then he will come out onto the balcony where they will announce in Latin his name, the name of the cardinal, but also the papal name that he has chosen for himself, as Jorge Bergoglio, the Cardinal of Argentina, chose to pick the name Francis and became Pope Francis. So in a similar way, that is what we can expect to happen once the decision is made.
And finally, Seema, there's quite a lot of speculation and interest in what that name might be, because it can be very important, can't it?
Yes, it's sort of an indication of what this new Pope is thinking of in terms of how he's going to progress in his pontificate. Often we'd want to look, if he chooses a name, like in the case of Benedict XVI, you'd want to know who was Benedict XV, so that you can understand that's where he gets his inspiration from. In the case of Francis, he chose Francis. He was the first to ever do that, getting his inspiration from Saint Francis of Assisi, who was an Italian saint who really focused on the environment as well, and the importance of every single living being, not just humans but animals. And we saw that with Pope Francis as well. So really, and the care for the poor. So the inspiration, the name he picks is important to look at.
Seema, thanks very much. Seema Gupta, our correspondent here in Rome. Well, of course, we're following it continuously here on France 24, just waiting to find out when that next puff of smoke may emerge. I suppose it could come as early as soon after 3 or 4 o'clock if there has been a pope selected. If not, we're expecting it more like 7 p.m. this evening. But as of last night, of course, there was quite a long delay. It didn't come till 9 o'clock in the evening. So we shall wait and see. All eyes still on that chimney.